Hi, I'm Kevin Gentry, and welcome to the TenX Strategies webinar series, where we help great causes like yours transform your effectiveness by 10xing your fundraising. And we do that by hosting guests, accomplished practitioners who work through a lot of their own examples and successes of how they've been able to raise more funds in a way, hopefully, that you can take these lessons and apply them to your own good work. If you want to learn more, check out our website, tenxstrategies.com. That's tenxstrategies.com. Be sure to take advantage of the free fundraising resources. You can sign up for the free weekly fundraising tip. But for now, take a look at today's webinar. We're so glad to have you. Thanks for being with us. If this is your first time, my name is Kevin Gentry, and I've been hosting these webinars in conjunction with the fundraising tips that I send out every Saturday morning for a long time. And as you may know, when we go into a subject in the fundraising tips, we try to go into one in terms of a deeper dive with a subject matter expert when there's a lot of interest. And in this case, there's a lot of interest in monthly giving. So I'm so happy that we can have Erica Waasdorp with us today because she literally wrote the book on monthly giving, The Sleeping Giant. And she's also written Monthly Giving Made Easy. She is the expert with respect to monthly giving. And I knew that, but I know it in particular because so many of you have emailed me over the past week to tell me about how happy you are to be reconnected with Erica because you've heard from her already before. So this is really exciting. Erica, thanks for joining us today. I want to just say a little bit about you in addition to being a great authority on monthly giving. But I understand from our conversation that you immigrated here from the Netherlands, but you kind of got bit by the direct response bug by Reader's Digest. You worked there, you worked at other organizations and agencies, and then really got into monthly giving about 30 years ago. And now you've got your own company, which is a direct solution, where you do a lot of work on retention related to monthly giving and other broader programs and growth. Yep. I'll love all that stuff related to direct response. But thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Thanks for being with us.
You're welcome. Thank you. Great to be here. Yeah.
Well, let me lead off with this question. Why, in your judgment, from your experience and vantage point, is monthly giving so good? Why is it the sleeping giant?
Because they're typically monthly donors are typically like smaller donors, right? They're not yet the big check writers. So most monthly donors start out at giving less than $100 a month, but they're going to give you a lot of money over time. The average lifetime value of a monthly donor is 8 years. 8 years.
Wow.
So that's really, really powerful, right? So the retention rates are higher. Again, they're great donors. They will still make additional gifts. They will leave you in their will. They're going to give through donor advised funds. You can include them in your capital campaign. All of those. They're really great donors to support you with that unrestricted revenue that you need, unrestricted, that you need to keep the lights on.
Well, that's what I think is so attractive, in that you can essentially budget it, and you know that it's coming in month to month, by and large.
Right.
But also,
and you're not starting the year off at zero.
Right.
You're starting the year off at whatever the value is of those monthly donors that you have, right? So it's like, if you budget, you're not, you can just have that top line and say, these are my monthly donors and I can count on that money to come in. And then you have to fill obviously with everything else in the plan, right? But it's great.
Well, we got a lot to talk about because first of all, you've already shared benefits recently that really I didn't know about. First of all, it makes sense. We're all struggling in direct response with severe attrition. So many first-time donors are not giving that critical second time. But if they're a monthly donor, they definitely are going to give a second and a third time.
Will. Yep.
But you're saying just the fact that they're becoming more engaged with the organization as a monthly donor it leads to increased giving, increased engagement, and all these other benefits like major gifts and legacy gifts.
Absolutely. Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. So I want to understand a little bit more about the why, and then we're going to get into the tactics of how to build an effective program. But is there a science as why do people give monthly? It's funny. I wouldn't have thought about that. I just see giving to the particular response to the particular appeal. Why do some donors give monthly?
Well, because most donors give monthly, first of all, because they want to help. They want to help. That's number one. So in other words, like they want to support your organization. But then monthly is just a way that's more convenient to them. They can spread out their giving. They may not be able to write those big checks yet, but again, they can say, okay, well, I want to give $20 a month or $30 a month, and they can afford that on their budget, right? So because they really feel compelled to support your organization. So in that regard, they're donors, but monthly giving is just a way that's more convenient for them.
All right. So
it's a way to pay over time, right? Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So I know people are at different stages. Let's take one stage where you don't have either a monthly giving program or you don't even have much of a direct mail program. How do you begin to start? Do you start with your website? Do you start with it in digital appeals? How do you begin to think about starting it up? Before we even get into the specifics of how to structure it, how do you think about it and conceive it?
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, you mentioned word think. Okay. Don't overthink it too much. Okay. So, because we nonprofit fundraisers, we tend to overthink things, right? For some reason, that's a thing. So, but yeah, I mean, start with you're looking at your website, right? So in other words, like monthly giving, you have to make it easy for the donors to find, right? You have to make it easy for them to sign up. Right. So I recommend that, yes, look at your website, look at your donation platform, your giving page, and see, does it have the recurring giving option on there? Okay. Look at your system, your platform, or your donor base. It depends on how you're using that, right, in conjunction with your website, and say, can I create a monthly only page? A monthly only payment page. And if you can, I highly recommend that you do that, because then you can start driving people to go there in all of your appeals, whether it's digital, mention it in your direct mail, even on social media, right? So you always want to drive people to go to that, what I call like a monthly only page. So start there, take a look and say, what can you do? And again, when I started in monthly giving, like 32 years ago, online did not exist, right? These donation platforms did not exist, right? That has really grown over the past, I would say just even over the past 8 to 10 years. So all of your tools, all of your donation platforms have the capability to allow for recurring gifts. Okay, so that's where you start there and say, what do you have? How can you, make sure that your tools are ready to start taking monthly gifts?
Terrific. All right. Well, for those who've joined today's webinar, please, you're welcome to put questions into the chat or the Q&A. I know a number of you emailed me ahead of time. I'm going to try to address as many of these as possible, but I want to go in kind of a logical, chronological order. So let's say those of us listening would say, okay, you've convinced me I should have a monthly giving program, or it would be foolish for me not to have a monthly giving program if people give more through monthly giving, and then there are all these additional long-term benefits. Okay, I'm convinced. All right, so I'm going to have on my website, my web page, my landing page, I'm going to have really clear, direct, just best possible monthly giving options. Do I then begin to promote it elsewhere? How do I think about it in direct mail, anything else online? My donor newsletter, how should I begin to think about this?
Absolutely. Again, so you've done the hard work, right? You've created the page, right? You've created the links. So one of the easiest thing actually is if you can add a second button to your homepage, right? Most nonprofits have a donate now, donate button on the homepage, right? Add a give monthly button to the homepage. I've tested it with one organization, a religious organization, and they received, by just adding that button, their number of monthly donors doubled.
Wow.
Doubled. So needless to say, they now have that as, like, they have both buttons on their homepage, right? So again, you've done the hard work. You just gotta start clicking, linking to it. And then, yeah, put it in your donor newsletter, in your emails. Again, I worked with one organization and they started with like 15 monthly donors. They're now at 180, and they did a couple of small things. They added a second button in every email they sent.
Wow. All
So
right.
it says donate now, give monthly.
Okay. So I'm getting some questions already. So I want to start at the sort of the organizational part of it.
Yep.
People are asking, do you have a name for your monthly donors? Do you kind of have a club name or a recognition society? How do you do that? Why would you do that? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So again, like, and I talked to a lot of organizations, right? So, and a lot of organizations say, well, I don't want to start, appealing to my donors and asking them to give monthly until I have this all figured out, right? So, and the reality is, having a name is great for recognition, stewardship. If you don't have a name yet, don't wait. You can always introduce a name of a program saying, thank you so much for your monthly gift. You're now part of the freedom fighters, whatever the name is of your program, or whatever you want the name of your program to be. But don't hold off and spend like months oodling out, like what the name should be. And the benefits, again, don't overthink it. The benefits are really you're making it easy for the donor to give, right? And the benefits are for the donor that they're going to continue to receive updates on how their monthly gifts are making a difference. And you're going to send them a tax overview every January. Those are the two promises that I recommend that you make, that you give as the benefits. That's it. You can add things later. If you say you have a newsletter, great. You can say, well, you'll receive a newsletter, but if you're not sure if you're going to be able to pull that off, because a lot of organizations are small, right? So they're like, well, I can do a newsletter now, but what if somebody leaves, or what if somebody changes, or, whatever. So it's like, start with those first two promises. Like, once you're a monthly donor, you're going to get updates on how your monthly gifts are making a difference, and you're going to get an overview of all of your giving every January, right? And then you can do unexpected things.
Love that. That's
unexpected
a great point.
things are always great, right? But you're better off like not overpromising.
Yes.
So, and again, don't, like, I know sometimes organizations are like, well, yeah, but I want to have like a benefit for each level of monthly gift. And the reality is, you don't need that. Donors will self-identify what the amount is that they're comfortable with. And they're not necessarily going to do that because they're getting some type of tchotchke when they're giving $40 a month as opposed to $20 a month, right? So just like give donors options for gift amounts on the form, but you don't have to have specific benefits for each level of giving.
Awesome. By the way, I learned from Mal Warwick many years ago the advantages of giving clubs, and you get higher response and you get a higher average gift, and so it's right in line with what you're talking about with monthly giving too. Thank you very much. Okay, so still some steps at the beginning. What benefits beyond a tangible benefit, but what other benefits would you offer to a prospective donor to join the monthly giving? Do you talk about, is it based on the mission, solving the problem, or is it about the ease, or what are some of the benefits?
It's a combination, really. But again, remember I said monthly donors want to help, right? So they're donors first and foremost, right? The monthly is just a way that's more convenient for them. It's an easier way to give, right? So the mission, yes, the mission is key. They want to support the mission. and they want to make a difference. So, and like in terms of like unique selling proposition, if you will,
Hmm.
what I'm seeing a lot of organizations, they might say, help create lasting change with a monthly gift, right? So
Got
again,
it.
it's tied to the mission, and then, but it's a way for the donor to give that's comfortable for them.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
so that's again, don't overthink it. So it's like these donors want to help, right? And in most cases, they're already giving to you, right? So converted donors are easier, and they are actually going to stay with you even longer, right? So there's some research out there. So take your donors, and they're already supporting your mission, but now give them the opportunity to do that in a way that's more comfortable for them, with an amount that's more comfortable for them.
Okay. Question I got emailed to me. Do you have just a credit card option, or do you emphasize ACH, or what's best? Do you do all the above? What do you recommend in terms of sort of the mechanics of it?
Yeah, so again, I think start with the platform that you have now and see what they can offer. Because I know like some platforms can still only offer credit card, but most of them are now able to offer credit card and electronic funds transfer, ACH, e-check, direct debit, however they call it, right? And sometimes even PayPal, right? So you have it all on the form, right? And then it's Google
Got
Pay
it.
and Apple Pay and all of those. So yeah, again, it's all about the ease for the donor, right? But ACH, e-check, EFT, that has the highest retention. So if you're looking at like credit card monthly donors, their retention rate might be about 87%. If you look at EFT monthly donors, that retention goes up to 94, 95%.
Wow. Is that just because credit cards expire or
Credit cards expire and bank accounts don't. I mean, people typically don't change their bank account that often.
right?
So yeah, credit cards expire every couple of years, right? So
Not to
yes.
mention some people have a fraud problem and then they have to get a new
Yep.
card
Yep.
and you got to go through that
Yes.
process. Okay, well
Yep.
we'll talk about that. Okay, this is
Yes.
terrific. Okay.
Yep.
Anything else you would advise people know at the outset, at the organizational stage of setting up the monthly giving program? And then we'll get
Yeah,
into
I mean,
some
it's kind of like funny. In one thing I always recommend is like when you set up like a new form or a new opportunity, like you're creating that monthly only page, for example, test it and make sure that the back end, the thank you process is correct. So, and because I still see that a lot, like I test out things all the time and I see, you offered this, but why are you thanking me for that? So, and it's like, oh, oops, we have to fix that, right? So from the outset, make sure that you look at your thank you messaging, that fits with your monthly gift, and that it's all working, and it's like, not a standard, like a lot of these platforms, they have really standardized messaging that's not very warm and friendly and not really mission focused a lot of times. So make sure that you test that. Make sure that it says what you want it to say before you go live, right? So take a moment to. It doesn't take long to do that, but take a moment to test it. So
awesome. Okay.
yeah,
So now you're hitting a couple other key points. So Roger Craver, in his superb book Retention Fundraising, says that one of the best ways to address the severe drops in donor attrition is a much better welcome at the beginning. Gratitude is so important
right.
that societal cultural importance of thank you is everything. And you focus a lot of that in your business. How should we really think about the initial thank you when someone becomes a monthly donor? And then, thank you. Clarify just even a little bit more. How do we keep the monthly thank you fresh?
Right. So first of all is I always recommend that obviously the more personal you can be, the better off, right? So, and no matter how a monthly donor comes on board, whether it's online or offline, right? Always send them something in the mail as soon as possible and try to make that as personal as possible. So if you're obviously like your donation platform will spit out that automated email thank you, right? Again, make that as warm and fuzzy as possible. Personalize it with the phone number and preferably an email address and a person so that if the donor has questions, they know whom to contact. It kind of helps build trust, right away, right? So, but then send something in the mail. It can be like just a handwritten thank you card. You can involve your board or volunteers if you don't have a lot of time yourself, but make that and again put your phone number in a person's name and an email address on there so that again the monthly donor is like, yes, oh, okay, they got my gift. Because sometimes people, especially older donors, they're like, oh, did my gift go through? Yeah, they got that email thank you, but then did they actually charge it? So the sooner you can like give them that feeling of like, oh, okay, they got my gift. They got my monthly gift sign up. Great. And then again, take a look and saying what else are is automated in your systems? Because sometimes the platform sends out receipts. Like if and you used to give to PayPal and you get these really wonky receipts, right? Nothing personal about them, right? So, but take a look and say, what does your system do automatically? Does it send receipts every month or does it not send receipts every month? Because a lot of them don't, right? So you have to do something special. So, and again, it all depends on what your platform is that you're using because there's so many of them. But take a look and can you customize it? Like a lot of them, you can put a little story above the receipt. So again, thank you for your monthly gift. Here's what your gift is making happen possible, right? A little story, blah, 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 whatever it is that the donor, is used to or what you're used to sending to your other donors. On thank yous, and then tell them how their gifts are making a difference, and then the receipt part, if that has to be there, is it's kind of taken over by the warm fuzziness of the feeling that, oh yeah, my monthly gifts are making a difference and here's how.
Awesome.
So yeah, and in terms of like, because people ask me this all the time, you do not need to send a monthly hard copy thank you letter.
Okay.
You don't need to send a monthly thank you letter in the mail. And again, typically when you sign a monthly donor up, you say, from now on, you're going to receive updates. We will not send you monthly thank you letters in the mail, but we'll send you an overview of all of your giving every January.
Okay. So I've got some
So,
questions now
yeah,
about some of the continued follow-up, but do you
yeah.
have any particular tips on how we should think about auditing our thank you program? It's easy to just kind of forget about it and we think it's turning out the right stuff and it's not. And go to your website and like, oh my gosh, why are we thanking them for the Christmas 2023 special offering? What any particular suggestions on how to audit
Oh, yeah.
your
I mean,
program
well,
more
yeah.
regularly?
I mean, I think it's more like, yeah, maybe put yourself on the seed list. If you can put yourself on the seed list. I always recommend that you become a monthly donor yourself. So join your own program.
Good
And
idea.
then that way you know what you're getting. So you see what if you're getting a thank you letter that's like old or it has somebody who's laughed or whatever. So I think that's probably the easiest way to audit your program. I mean, other than like talking to some other folks like you and I and say, hey, take a look at our program. What are we getting? What happens? How soon are you getting the thank you letters? I mean, what happens subsequently? Yeah.
All right. So let's say you want to tap your existing file of donors for monthly givers. How do you know what to ask them to give?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, first of all, you're not going to tap everybody in your file, right? I recommend that you be very targeted. So most organizations are most successful with looking at those donors who've given in the last 6 months. So take a look at those donors who've given less than $250. So that's like a really prime, and then take a look at those donors who've given more than once. Still include the one-time donors because they're new, so you want to try to get them to become a monthly donor as soon as possible. But look at those donors who've given 2 times and 3 times and 4 times, right? So tap that group, and then the amount. Don't ask too low, don't ask too high. So I just tested this with an organization where we started out with what was their last one-time gift to their appeals, right? So if you're doing a direct response campaign, what was their last gift? Take one quarter of that, 1/3, half, and then maybe include the prior gift. But that's like a lot of times that's a little greedy, but sometimes or donors will gravitate
So,
towards and always have another option.
so
So
if
if somebody
somebody
gives $30,
25, you ask for maybe 10. If
10,
they give
yep,
100, you ask for 25 or
right,
35 or something
correct.
along those lines.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. All right,
Yeah.
thank you. Another important question. You have monthly donors. Do you now take them off of your house file list? Do you not send them let's say you send a house file appeal roughly every 4 to 6 weeks. Do you take them off that?
Well, that's another great question. So if somebody says, I don't want to hear from you, or I only want to hear from you once a year, so because sometimes donors say, well, yes, I'll give monthly, and just send me something once a year, right? So, it's always what the donor wants, right? So the donor preference, right? But it depends a little bit on your mission. I found that you can include your monthly donors as a separate segment in your appeals as long as you recognize them. So say, thanks for your ongoing monthly support. And then, but I want to share this really exciting story with you, or I want to share this story with you. And then give them the option to make an extra gift or a special gift. So in your copy, you refer to that is clearly an extra or a special gift. It's not just a one-off gift, right? So that's really, really important that you recognize them in your appeal and that you're asking them for that extra gift on the reply form. And again, typically I recommend that the extra gift is like a blank amount, because if somebody is a 25 is like a $10 a month donor, monthly donor, you don't want to ask them for a $10 gift. They might be willing to give you
Right.
$50, right? So leave it blank, because that calculation becomes really difficult if you do that.
That makes sense. Okay.
But yes, you can, and check it, test it, see what happens. But I find religious organizations, animal organizations, they are very successful keeping their donors in their appeals. But again, be mindful of that, right? Saying, well, if, but you may not want to send them a follow-up appeal, but maybe just the first drop. Again, if you're sending out premiums or tchotchkes or what have you, again, think about what would the monthly donor, almost like kind of like, what would they be upset about if they didn't get it? Like, say you're sending a calendar, send them they want that calendar, right? So think about, like, what are you sending? What's your communication plan? What are they used to getting, right? They used to get whatever it was. They used to hear about this program that you're doing or that. So they may want to hear about that again, right? So, but by all means, make sure that you recognize them. And this is where, for example, if you have a name for a program, that's where that becomes relevant. So like, thanks for, being a child of Mary. Thanks for, so you really make a difference. But
Excellent. All right, Erica, we usually limit these to half an hour, but I'm getting a lot more questions. Can you stay on for another 5 or 10 minutes?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So how should we think about monthly donors and our broader cultivation and stewardship efforts, perhaps like with donor visits or events, or or even thinking about going to them for a personal solicitation related to an upgrade on a capital campaign, are they better donors than one-time or two-time donors? So let's say
I'm not sure that
hypothetically.
I don't know if they're better donors per se. I mean, again, most of them were already given to you before, right? So, do some of them have the potential to give more money? Absolutely, right? So yeah. And again, the more personal you can be with them, that's great. So to your point is like events, say you're a regional organization and you have I was talking to a animal charity and, they always had a regional get together once a year. And they actually invited all of their monthly donors, and the monthly donors got like a special little star on their name tag. And people would say, well, oh, what is this? What does that star mean? And, and they would get like talking. And they recognize their monthly donors. And at that point, they would also even ask for an upgrade from their monthly donors at this particular event. So you can absolutely upgrade your monthly donors like typically once a year, and you can get extra gifts. Like, some organizations are seeing 20 to 25% of their donors giving extra gifts, right? And again, they're going to be giving to your capital campaign. They will like personal visits. So if you identify somebody who's already giving you $100 a month, that's probably somebody worth calling and seeing if they're interested in a visit, right? So, but yes, you have to look at that. What can you handle as in number of personal
Right.
visits? But one of the things that is really popular, and obviously since COVID, we're so used to it. Hey, we're doing it right now, right? We have a Zoom meeting, right? So, you can have a virtual update. The executive director or somebody, in the organization can say, look, I want to, tell you about what's going on. You are so valuable as our monthly donor. Want to just like share with you what's happening, and you make this possible, right? So it's a Zoom meeting. Doesn't have to be long. You can send it out. You can record it. And people are like, oh, wow. Yeah, I'm special, right?
Love it. Love it. All right. What do you do to prevent monthly donors from lapsing? I mean, are any tips and techniques to just keep them from dropping off?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think you've got to be on top of it, right? So I recommend like once a month, you sit down and look at your program, saying, okay, what am I? And maybe you need to bring in your bookkeeper or your finance person, whomever is handling, like seeing the money coming in and saying, okay, well, how many of these monthly donors did not pay this month? Okay. And then again, a little trick, calculate what that value is. Because people are like, yeah, I just had like a couple of monthly donors drop out. All right. Well, what are they worth? Oh, I don't really know. Okay. Well, so then if you calculate it, remembering that they're going to stay with you for 8 years, right? On average. So write down and say, okay, well, this month I have 10 people who did not pay their monthly gift. I can't tell from looking at the records that they did not actively cancel. They want to continue, but their card was compromised or their credit card expired, right? So, and then pick up the phone and say, I'd like to, reach out and send them an email, preferably a personal email coming from your, like doesn't have to have your organization's header, but you are sitting down and saying, I just want to follow up. So that, and then send them a letter. So do all of those things to try to get them to update their information. And then next month, repeat that. Because again, donors are busy, right? And remember, they did not actively cancel.
Right.
So they didn't call you and say, I don't want to do this anymore. No. They just, their card expired. And I saw like a stat, like it was like, I think like 25% of organizations don't do anything with these people. Well, you've just lost them all. And again, if you calculate what those 10 monthly donors, say they give you $25 a month, $300 a year, 10 monthly donors that are dropping out, that's $3,000 a year that you're losing.
Not to mention the long-term value. And you're right, the donor probably doesn't even know that it happened. Okay, final two questions. What are the biggest challenges about monthly giving programs that you think we should just be mindful of? You've already told us not to overthink it.
Right.
And you've also told us to audit our programs and thank you programs and things. But what are some of the biggest challenges we need to make sure we address?
I think, sorry, it's really starting. Again, don't overthink it, start. You can always tweak your program later, right? So I think that's the biggest hurdle. And I think the other thing is again, don't wait too long. Don't worry about the name. Certainly don't worry about a brand or a logo, or donors don't really care about that, right? They want to support you, and you're offering them a way to do this that's comfortable for them, right? So I think that it just kind of always keep a mindset of how can I make it easy for the donors? And where can I build in the requests? What are my opportunities where I can talk about monthly giving? I mean, when I work with nonprofits, I see so much low-hanging fruit. It's incredible. It's
You're
absolutely
absolutely
incredible.
right.
Like if you have a welcome email series, for example, right? A lot of organizations have that. Build it in, make it one of the requests in your welcome emails, right? So literally, that's why I wrote the book Monthly Giving Made Easy. Literally, you can open a page and say, oh, what am I? Oh, am I doing that? Oh, no, I'm not doing that yet. Let's add that to the mix, right? So it's a lot of little things that make the difference. It's not a big thing. You don't have to have a texting program. You don't have to, you don't have to do a lot of things. You don't have to worry about face to face or, a lot of these things that people are worried about. It's not crowdfunding, So just keep it simple. Keep it simple and start. You can always make it more complicated, but keep it simple and doable, and then you will succeed. And I think the other challenge I think is not setting a goal. So set a goal, and so start with, what do you have now? How many monthly donors do you have? What are they worth on an annual basis, on 8-year value, right? And then put that on your bulletin board and say, hey, today this is what they're worth, and then set a goal, what you want to achieve down the road. And
Right.
the reality is every single organization is different, because you may have more email addresses than other people might have more donors, so you might be doing these channels, so take a look and say, what can I do? Where can I add some opportunities for donors to give monthly?
All right. Erica Waasdorp, this has been great. Everybody, I hope I got to your questions today. Feel free to follow up. I'm going to give you the final word, Erica. Well, actually, somebody just asked any particular artificial intelligence tools that you're a big fan
Yes.
of. Also,
There was
any particular database CRMs that you think are great. Give us your final words. Final words. What would you suggest in any form that we leave with?
Well, okay, so AI innovations, I would say if you want to brainstorm about a name for your program, ChatGPT is a great one.
Great.
Okay,
Great
start
point.
there to get your creative juices flowing. Okay, but don't end there. Again, writing thank you notes, writing thank you letters, thank you emails. ChatGPT is great to start with a basic, and then make it more personal, make it your own, right?
Yes.
So that's a great one. And other than that, I mean, just don't overthink it. Start somewhere. Know, and be on top of it. I think the biggest thing is you have to have a driver of the program. And I presume that a lot of people that are on today's webinar, they are driving that program, because without that, you're not going to move forward, right? So somebody needs to say, yes, I'm going to add a button in an email. I'm going to put in a laser line on my reply form, so I'm going to look at that email, welcome email, and I'm going to share out the wonderful results that you're going to see. And, again, set your goals and then share out like during the year and say, wow, we got like 10 new monthly donors, 25 new 100 monthly donors. And this is what they're worth over time. And people are like, because a lot of times people don't necessarily know the value, right? So especially major gift folks, they're like, yeah, but that's not a $10,000 donor. Well, they could be, So some of them are. Some organizations are seeing $1,000 a month monthly donors,
Yes.
right? So yes. So just start and keep at it. I think that's but start with one thing and you can add things down the road, but keep it simple and doable and easy for the donor to understand.
Well, Erica Waasdorp, it's been great having you today. Thank you. Keep at it. I really appreciate your enthusiasm for this. You're awesome. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining today as well. Well, thanks for joining us for today's TenX Strategies webinar. I hope you found this valuable. And please take advantage of these resources as much as is helpful to you. Check out our website, tenxstrategies.com. That's TenX strategies.com. Sign up for the free weekly fundraising tip if you're not already there. And you're welcome to share these resources with others, including a recording of today's program. We're all about helping you get to the root causes of the problems in society with the solutions that you offer, but to transform your effectiveness by 10xing your fundraising. Thanks for being with us today and hope to see you again soon.